Today I showed this game for two reasons mostly. The first reason is to show that there is no need for a cutthroat tactical scramble to win a game of chess. And also because I have no video yet that illustrates good piece coordination and good piece placement versus the opposite, which is poor coordination between pieces and poor piece placement. So we're going to see a game where white just plays some sensible, good positional move, restricting the opponent's space, and that just leads to the complete positional loss. With, of course, there's some tactics at the end, but really the tactics are brought about by the good positional play that preceded it. So let's go into it. E4, c5. So here my opponent plays the Sicilian defense, which is quite a good defense. Knight f3, d6, take. So that's pretty standard in the Sicilian. Basically, the aim for black is to have some play along the c file, and it doesn't always work that way, but especially not this time. Knight c6. So I take the opportunity here to build a bind. That was called the Maroc C bind, named after a player who really liked to have this sort of position with e4, c4, and then build behind it, restricting the opponent's push of d5. Because one of the freeing moves in the Sicilian is when you're able, as black, to play d5. So c4 is a useful move, but not the only one. It's just a matter of style here. He plays bishop d7, which is a little bit passive, but not bad. Knight c3, a6. So that's pretty much in tune with what the Sicilian tries to achieve, but right now he's not achieving anything. But we're still in the development stage. Bishop e2, knight f6, just castle, e6, and then develop on the dark squares. So of course, looking into this square potentially in the future, you never know what might happen. You know, this knight might be able to swing here. It could be an exchange there, get into a weak square. The a pawn could push here. All kinds of things can happen, but it's the early days. So here he plays the queen c7, which is also a typical thematic move in the Sicilian defense. And here straight away I play rook to c1. Now in the Sicilian, with this kind of position, you often have a sacrifice here. Knight here takes, and this knight is pinned. So eventually you will regain the knight c6 with a favorable position. But it's too early to do this kind of a combination. So after rook c1 he plays bishop e7, queen d2. Now the idea here is, should he play the pawn here, I can play the knight there, and bear in mind that as soon as he pushes, there's a big hole here on d5. So if he pushes here, I will play the knight here, which is very threatening on this dark square. He would have no option but take it. Then I take it, doubling my pawn, and later I will push g4, g5, which kicks the knight and can make use of this very dangerous outpost on d5, especially if you remember that the b6 square is going to be very weak. He does the right thing, he castles. Then I just play a strengthening move here. You don't have to play it, but it's I prefer to have a strong c4 pawn. That's where he starts going wrong. Now he starts going greedy into tactics and threatening to play this, which prevents my idea. However, there's no need to panic here because as soon as he plays e5, I have a retreat on c2 and quite a good game. So he's starting to misplace his pieces for no good reason. And one of the things that the queen does here is it exposes this square even more. So a one mover like that is already threatening to get into here. But like I often say, when your opponent starts going wrong, do not contradict it. Do not contradict your opponent when he starts making dubious moves like this. So what do? A thematic move, King H1. The art of doing nothing but doing it very well. Now this makes my opponent think that I might want to play f4, for example. So he spent quite a lot of time on this position. But after e5, which actually definitely stops f4, like I said before, there's this very simple move which now keeps an eye on that square, and potentially in the future he may have prospect of going here and going there. So it's not position is not bad. Now what happens on the queen side is, should he decide to invade this way, I give my bad bishop for it, he takes, and then f3, and then I ended up with a very strong position because this square is really mine now. He plays bishop e6, which is an attempt at dealing with the strength of this square for white, and here I just simply play f3, and he was using a lot of time on the clock trying to work out what I'm doing. So he decided to go for f5. He plays the knight back here and he wants to play f5. Unfortunately, he's not going to have time, because now this is a move that threatens a lot and it needs to be dealt with. So he has no option here but take the knight on d5 and then attack with the c pawn, and then where can he go? There's only one good square here. And then, so now we have this situation where he's got his pieces on the back rank with very little prospect to move anywhere, and the queen is exposed to the attack, potential discovered attack of the rook. And so here there's a very, very simple move that wins the game. And it's knight here. And after the obvious, it's not actually clear whether this is the best square, because the computer actually gives queen b8 as the best square, and followed by knight here, b5, knight b6, rook a7, and then pick how you're going to crush him. Rook c8 is probably too early. The computer recommends this. So instead of playing queen d7 as he did in the game after knight a3, he could have played queen b8, but the game is still lost. The computer gives it as over 3 pawns of positional disadvantage. So after queen d7, it's interesting to see how the game falls, and there has there has been no aggressive move in this position by white. Just a simple build up until the end. So now the threat is to come in here, and there's very little that can be done. And by the way, the threat is not just to come here to pick up the rook. The queen is trapped after knight b6. It has nowhere to go. And this position is given by the computer as nearly 6 pawns advantage. And it's recommended that this be played, followed by knight b6, queen a7, and then you just pick up the rook. And make a move like this. So this move actually prevents his knight from coming out, and so he's going to have to perhaps move this one, and you pick the move. Could be queen. The computer recommends queen a3, queen b6. I think is playable, but queen a3. It's just desperate. It's the equivalent of 5 pawns down here, and the move recommended by the computer is b4. So it goes to show how desperate it is. What happens if e6 counterplay? We just have this, because the queen is pinned, and that's because of the bad positioning of the knight. Now, if you go back to knight c4, when the knight came here threatening to go on b6, winning the game, it's useful to see where the pieces are placed. You have these two knights on the back rank. You got this bishop here that's not doing much. The queen is here cramped. Here you've got two well-placed bishops. This bishop has prospect on the queen side. Of course, it doesn't have any prospect here because the pawn has gone on f3. This knight is really well placed. The file is challenged. The rook is on the file. So it's just a culmination of sound piece play by white, with paying attention to what the pawn structure does. King safety, and basically black's game falls by itself. That's what happened.